What's up, Dallas? How's everybody doing tonight? Get enough drinks? Yeah, I should shut up. So most of us probably assume that more knowledge is always a good thing. We think that as you learn more and more about a subject, the more effective you'll be with that knowledge. But what we know now is that this isn't always the case, and that as you learn more, it becomes more difficult to communicate what you know, and it could actually make you less innovative. The curse of knowledge is what occurs when you can no longer remember what it's like to be without the knowledge that you have acquired. As you learn more and more, eventually you become established, and you probably become comfortable with what you know. As you grow more and more comfortable, you might start thinking that you know all there is to know. When you lose the ability to think creatively, you also become less likely to introduce innovative ideas. Learning everything there is to know about a subject becomes a liability when it discourages thought leadership and leads to complacency. And the other problem that we see with the curse of knowledge is communication. Because a lot of times when you've mastered a subject or a job, it becomes very difficult to communicate to those with less knowledge. And just like the best players are not always the best coaches, the best developers are not always the best salesmen of their software. So we've all given elevator pitches, and everybody here has heard an elevator pitch, maybe even just today. If you've ever heard an elevator pitch that sounds like it makes a lot of sense to the person speaking, but it doesn't make any sense to you, now you know what the problem really is. But this is a larger issue than just losing a sales deal or stumbling over an elevator pitch. Because one of the problems of the curse of knowledge is that it doesn't just affect one person at a time. When it affects a group, that can stifle innovation for an entire industry, and it makes it much more difficult to overcome. But if we really want to be thought leaders and overcome complacency, we have to be aware of the dangers here, especially when we start to see the curse combining with a paradox. The story of the Abilene Paradox comes to us from management guru Jerry Harvey. And as the story goes, a family's relaxing on their front porch in West Texas. They're all reading and relaxing, playing games, enjoying themselves, including the grandfather. But he starts to think that everyone else is getting bored, so he suggests a trip to Abilene. Now, wanting to please her dad, the mom is immediately on board, and not wanting to let down his wife, the husband says that he wants to go too. Eventually, the whole family is speaking up and sounding excited about the trip, when really, all each person wants to do is just stay at home on the porch. So they take the trip to Abilene, and it goes horribly. The road there is hot and long and dusty, and they have dinner somewhere, and it's terrible. And by the time they get back, everyone is in a bad mood and wishing that they had never left. To lighten the mood, someone says, "Wasn't that a great trip?" This causes the whole family to explode. Everyone admits that they hated the trip, and they never wanted to go in the first place. So after hearing this, the grandfather finally admits he never really wanted to go either. He only suggested the trip because he thought everyone else was bored. And after all, nobody spoke up against it. So, if anybody's ever been to Abilene, Abilene's not even the place to go if you're bored. But we also know this behavior known as herd mentality, mob rule, the bystander effect, and groupthink. And this becomes extremely dangerous when everyone starts thinking the same thing in a group. It can be the reason for why neighbors will fail to call the police when they hear someone being attacked. And it can explain why corporations or entire industries sometimes behave in ways that seem to defy common sense. So one industry that seems to go against common sense, it seems to us at least from the outside looking in, is Wall Street. So it's clear that there's a disconnect here. At least from the outside looking in, they seem to be affected by both a paradox and a curse. But one of the downsides of the affliction is a short memory term for previous mistakes. And it's really sad when we see history repeating itself as new generations keep making the same old mistakes. Now, this is a smart and savvy audience, but let's be clear. None of us are immune to the curse of knowledge or to the Abilene Paradox. If we truly want to be thought leaders, if we're serious about fighting complacency and driving innovation, we have to put forth a concerted effort. The subject of innovation is on a few people's minds these days. The Obama administration has placed a high priority on the importance of innovation. The president has met with the leaders of Silicon Valley on this subject. There's even new initiatives like the Startup Genome Project that are trying to isolate the key factors that lead to success or failure in business. But the goal for companies is the same as it is for individuals. We want to remain as innovative at the end of the race as the beginning. Thank you.